Good evening. Here's our BCN News for the very day in April 2026. We're also only one day away from the Niue general elections. As we prepare to go to the polls, the Prime Minister Dalton Tangalangi has taken an opportunity to sum up his reign for the past 3 years and highlighted some of the things that his government has been able to achieve.
Well, I went into Parliament in 2008 in encouraging the youth, and myself and Esther, I was 39, going 40. Esther was 34, I think, 35. So she was the youngest at the time, but she said one term, but I continued. And my story is that my first term, you listen and you educate yourself about the due process and what goes on within Parliament. That's the first start. My second term, I was given a supporting role, member assisting the minister, and that is to the leader, Satoki, from 2011 to 2014. 2014, I was given a portfolio as a cabinet minister, and that is, if anything, one of the greatest honor that I have. And of course, 2017, I was back in Parliament. I was given a portfolio of the natural resources. Why I say that? Because I learned my duties as a politician, and I got recognized. Never asked for a position. And then in 2020, unfortunately, my colleague Billy and Satoki then made it back into the House in 2020. Just myself and Poko, because we were the sitting cabinet before. And then my duty from Poko, is that to just round up. At that time, there's caucus, round up the members, and that was that. I think everyone have their own different areas of discussing. Horse trading, they call it, after the elections, to get the numbers to lead to get the leader. But then everyone came to our gathering, and then, well, I was surprised, but at the same time not surprised, in the sense that I knew, because Bob was as a man of his own morale and very highly respected myself, and he just said there's no one else to lead. There's only one person I know that can lead. So, and that's how I became a leader then. But then in 23 to now, I did ask. I rounded everyone up and did ask for continuation, because I know that it needs to recover from COVID. And I think also under my leadership, I do away with the caucus. So up until now, there's no such thing as caucus since 2020. Yeah, well, I'm not here to be happy about what I do. I'm here to do what I had to do, and I leave that to the judgment of the people. Because I always believe the government, I think sometimes we say the government, it's me. No, it's not Tangalangi's government, because the government is the people. I'm just the leader of the people at this certain period. That's all it is to it. It's not about here to create legacies or whatever. You're there to do a job.
Our caretaker Prime Minister Dalton Tangalangi, the Prime Minister, will be addressing the nation at a special TV appearance tomorrow evening from 7 o'clock. The New Zealand representative on the island, the outgoing resident High Commissioner Mark Gibb, is about to leave Niue after serving as the New Zealand High Commissioner for the last 2 years. As he prepares to leave the island, or to leave his role, he reflects on the moments that defined his time on the island, sharing his experiences, or the experiences that left the biggest impression.
Personally, it's taught me that Niue is, people in Niue are spread across so many different demands on their time and their commitments, so that's interesting to see firsthand. The other thing I think is the resilience and commitment that Niueans have to their country and wanting to improve and make sure the country goes forward. I think the third part that I've learned around is to be patient. So that's a number of areas. But again, just taught me to understand that, you know, Niue, the ambition that everyone has is huge, and capability and capacity to meet that ambition, there's a gap. And how do we narrow that gap? But certainly the ambition is probably the third thing that struck me, how ambitious this country is and the people within it.
His Excellency Mark Gibb and his wife will leave the island tomorrow. For the past couple of days, the Niue Disaster Management Office has brought together all of the stakeholders to a workshop that will continue to support and build a new purpose-built warehouse for humanitarian and relief supplies. The project is part of a regional support that Niue and other countries receive through SPC, and the office manager, Robin Hekau, said the building will add to their assets.
This will add it on to an asset to the government, and we'll be able to have this building and we'll be able to use it as our prepositioning of stock as a warehouse. But we have designed this place not just like a normal warehouse, how it used to be, but this space is pretty much like 3 different areas. And one area is also, we kind of planned it so then it will have a kitchen, the toilet facilities, the shower facilities, and a working room for the staff if there was anything was to happen in that time, because we don't have those facilities, and use that facility for that as well. So hopefully we're looking to start right about June to July of this year, and hoping to have it open right about June of next year.
This part of the project is to ensure that the limitations with gender equality and social inclusion is to be addressed. Dibia Data is one of the facilitators from SPC who told us that countries like Niue are often relying on foreign aid.
Which means 2 things. First of all, it can be delayed, depending on the nature of the disaster and the hazard and flights and logistics and all of those things. But more importantly, it also means that countries and the governments have limited control over what they're distributing, how they're doing it, the decision making around it, because there is obviously a guardrail that is set by the donor or by foreign aid coming in, that these are your options and you have to select. What this does is it contextualizes all of that. So the infrastructure, the warehouse itself is contextualized to the geography, to the climate, and to how the government wants to run it. Right. Passive ventilation, use of traditional knowledge, things like that in the infrastructure itself. Secondly, the nature of the humanitarian supplies that is going into the warehouse, that is also contextualized. We understand that the last large-scale disaster that Niue had was Cyclone Heta, of course, which it's been quite a while. But at the same time, considering climate change and the frequencies of storm surges and all of that, it's increasing, yeah? And we cannot risk that. So the government wants certain kind of prepositioning, maybe tools for clearing roads when they're inundated and things like that. It just gives more control to the people. And they also, the way they are planning it, I think they also want to work very closely with the village councils.
JETSI advisor from SPC is Mona Peters, and she said most of the women were affected during a disaster, and to ensure that they are better supported following the disaster.
Because of their socio-economic conditions as well, their disabilities, that really puts them at a higher risk of being affected by disaster. So across the Pacific, yes, at a regional level, the leaders have committed. There is Pacific Leaders Gender Equality Declaration that they have committed to ensure that we look at inclusion in the development space and all the development in country.
Working closely with youth groups, service providers and key government departments, a project has seen the distribution of resources to 6 youth groups around the island.
The project is led by the Ministry of Finance through the Project Management and Coordination Units, working closely with youth groups, local service providers, and key government departments such as the Environment Department and the Department of Agriculture, Forestry and Fisheries.
The project supports land clearing, planting, and ongoing maintenance of the coconut plots within their own villages. And this project was funded by Canada Fund. And the Minister of Finance, Crossley Tatui, said he is pleased with the efforts to support local development.
I am pleased with the way we are progressing. We are short in terms of resourcing a lot of initiatives, mainly the youth, the village councils, the women. And this is why our diplomatic relations with other countries and multilateral organizations is so important in terms of securing financial and technical resources for our people.
We are very happy to be able to be receiving these items to be able to lighten the load of looking after our coconut plantations, and we're hoping to take this back to our youth groups and be able to distribute these items to our youth that have been involved in the coconut plantations. So we're hoping that our youth members are able to use it properly to be able to maintain and look after their plantations.
And that was Dora Mawaitangi speaking on behalf of the youth. Matua Mokoina is a podcast series of 24 half-hour videos, and the videos are telling the stories of Niueans who have experienced life growing up on the island but have moved to New Zealand. And Ofania Ikiua of Takatakai Moana says these stories reflect identity, resilience, and culture and connections.
We wanted our matuas to tell the story about their migration from Niue to New Zealand, and while they were living in New Zealand, what was that like for them? What were the successes for them? What was challenging for them at the time? But also to understand what their aspirations were as they travelled to New Zealand. What do they want to achieve for their children, for their futures? So that's really important for us. But we also wanted to capture what life was like for them living here on Niue, and what can our young people now learn about what life was like for Niue back then. Because as you know, times have moved on and Niue has advanced quite a bit, and no doubt there were some challenges for a lot of our matuas back then, but I think there are a lot that we can celebrate now about the munuina that we have today.
Ofania says these are not just stories, they carry wisdom, they carry history, and a sense of belonging. General Manager for BCN, Trevor Sekia, told us that TV Niue started a similar program until it was interrupted by fire. He said it is most important that we share the stories of the elders.
I think it's very important to get our stories from our matuas. They are well. We started this project a couple of years back, but we haven't been able to finish it. But we're grateful for this project that will allow us to get stories from our matuas or our elderlies living abroad, and that will allow us to be aired on TV Niue.
Yeah, I would really love to expand the work so that we can interview the matuas in Christchurch or in Waikato or even Australia. But I think the important thing is that that we're able to do that quickly, and because as you know, the longer we leave it, a lot more of our matua will pass on, and we won't be able to capture their stories. We won't be able to hear what fluent Wangahau Niue is like. What was important for them at the time, and as I said before, what were their dreams, what were their aspirations for Niue today.
The first episode will be screened on TV Niue on Sunday evening at 7 p.m. Finally, tonight, the Chief Electoral Officer, Darren Tovaka, has made an announcement of the confirmed members of Parliament for the 4 villages. Talaisi Tama Talaisi is now the confirmed member for Voyere, Richie Motama is the confirmed member for Hakupu, and Silipea Sione for Namukulu, and Tutuli Haka returns to the House as the member for Alofi North. Darren Tovaka encourages people to go to the votes.
I just ask that when the voters go to the polling stations to be calm, be courteous, and respect other people's voting rights and entitlements, And if you're unsure about anything, ask the officials. Call us before Saturday if you're unsure about anything. If you get anything in your voting paper, ballot paper wrong, please know that there is an opportunity to get another ballot paper, so it's not like you get one go at it. In every election we have spare ballot papers just for that situation. So reach out and ask if you're unsure about anything, and just want to wish all the candidates the very best of luck for these elections, and yes, as we all know, it's up to the voters, so encourage the voters to go out, vote and make your vote count in these elections.
That's all the news that we have for you this evening. Don't forget that following our news bulletin, we will bring you the second half of our Q&A at Matavai by the USB alumni. But that's all for us. We would like to wish you all the best in the coming elections, and all the best for all the candidates from all of us here at BCN News. Good evening.